In the early 1980s, the world was overtaken by a wave of flamboyant fashion, heavy makeup, and electronic beats. At the center of this cultural shift was a group of artists who shaped the visual and sonic identity of a generation. But beneath the layers of foundation, hairspray, and synthesizers was a story the public never fully understood. A reality marked by creative conflict, personal isolation, and calculated image management. The rise of synth pop and new wave coincided with the rapid expansion of MTV. For the first time, artists weren't just heard, they were seen. Record labels understood this quickly. Image became a primary tool, and androgyny, theatrical presentation, and carefully curated personas became essential to survival in a visual market. Bands like Eurythmics, Duran Duran Culture Club, Visage, and Soft Cell found themselves operating in a tightly controlled environment where the line between artist and product began to blur. Behind the bright colors and glossy videos were individuals pushed to extremes. Some artists spent more time in makeup chairs than in studios. Management teams dictated hairstyles, wardrobe choices, and even facial expressions for interviews. Public identities were constructed like marketing campaigns. Precision over authenticity. The same industry that celebrated innovation demanded conformity to a marketable look. Studio production also evolved. The analog warmth of the 1970s gave way to cold, digital precision. Synthesizers were cheaper, more efficient, and programmable. This gave producers more control, and gave artists less room to experiment. Many bands had their sounds replaced or reshaped entirely during post-production, with drum machines and sequencers removing the human element from performance. Some artists didn't even play on their own albums. The mental toll was substantial. Several lead singers became symbols without substance, icons whose actual voices and lives were less important than the image they projected. The pressure to maintain a flawless appearance and a steady stream of hits led to burnout. While audiences danced to the latest chart toppers, the artists behind them were often exhausted, disconnected, or heavily medicated. Some used alter egos as a shield. Stage names, exaggerated personas, and stylized behavior created distance between the real person and the public figure. But this division was unstable. The longer the persona dominated, the harder it became to return to a personal identity. In interviews, many artists admitted that they no longer recognized themselves without makeup or costume. A few chose to disappear entirely, stepping away from the spotlight once they realized they had no control over the narrative. There were also the quiet contributions. Session musicians, ghostwriters, and producers shaped the sound of the decade from behind the scenes. Their names were rarely mentioned, but their work was essential. Many of the most recognizable hits of the era were performed by people who never appeared on camera. The front-facing stars lip-synced in videos, while others created the actual music in back rooms and home studios. The divide between what was presented and what was real widened every year. As sales targets grew, authenticity shrank. Chart success didn't reflect artistic achievement. It reflected marketing alignment. Some of the most iconic figures of the era didn't write their songs, didn't play their instruments, and sometimes didn't even sing on the final tracks. They were performers in every sense, delivering a message that wasn't theirs to control. This doesn't mean the music lacked value. The tracks defined an era, reshaped pop culture, and influenced decades of sound design and production. But the cost was rarely visible. While the audience saw glamour, the reality was often scripted exhaustion, relentless branding, and invisibility behind a mask of fame. When the decade ended, so did many of these careers. The spotlight moved on, and many of those once at the center of pop music vanished. Some retreated by choice. Others were discarded by an industry that always chased the next trend. The story behind the synths and makeup remained buried beneath nostalgia and selective memory. Today, The songs remain, but the people behind them, the real voices, the silent players, the exhausted stars, tell a different version of events. It's a version without filters, stage lights, or market-tested hooks. It's a version that reveals how much was hidden behind the beat. And once you hear it, you don't listen to the music the same way again.